everyone. Welcome to the first installment, the first episode of Refocus, a 12-part series that we're doing with me, Father Scott, in our parish, and just sending out through the web to anyone who'd like to watch. What we've been going over is we've been looking at things that we may have heard growing up in the faith, but maybe bypassed us, but really are profound, deep, amazing, and overwhelming truths. Way deeper than a lot of times when we just hear it quickly and rush over it. So we're going, that's a whole purpose, refocusing on some of the main things that might sound so basic, but when we actually dive into them, we're going to dive into something today. We dive into it, it's supposed to overwhelm us. So, before we do that, I'd like to introduce the guest that we have today on this first episode. I have Henry Ashoff here. Henry,
hello there. How are you?
Good to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm glad
and
to be
Henry's daughter, Kelsey.
Hi.
This is Kelsey. She's a senior, just graduating this year. So we're going over, basically looking at the big picture. What is this big story that we find ourselves in? Much bigger, right? A lot of times we have our head down on details. But we have a word for this in our tradition called the Kerygma. And in our first episode, I talked about the Kerygma. There's 4 parts to it. And it's the story of who we are. Today, we're going to start focusing on the first part, which is God, His grandeur, His creation, and His loving plan for us. Okay, I'm going to do this by we're going to focus in on 2 words that might sound pretty basic, okay? The 2 words are God created. That's it. God created. Some of the first words in Scripture. Before we focus in on this, Kelsey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
All right. Kelsey, if you were to... can you just face this way just for a second? Okay. Away from your dad.
Oh.
Just away from your dad. All right. Now, think of your dad right now in your mind without looking at him.
Okay.
You can even close your eyes.
Okay.
And what image or word comes to mind when you think of your dad?
Caring.
Caring?
Yeah. He's always super caring and puts me and my sisters and my mother's needs before his own, and has always been like an inspiration to all of us to be caring with others.
If he wasn't here, would you say the same thing?
No.
So you have, what about the picture you have in your mind of your dad? What's he like when you picture him in your mind?
I probably picture him on the wrestling mat, jumping up and down and crazy, because that's his personality. He shows it every once in a while to other people, but it's also who he is at home, and it's part of who he is to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So then when you look over your dad...
Okay.
Hi. Hopefully it matches the picture of what you have in your mind. So actually what you just did, we do all the time. Mm-hmm. Like when you're at school or you're at work, you think of someone in your family, you have a picture in your mind of what they're like. And like words come, like caring, or if you had a fight that day, maybe like stay away for a little bit. I don't know. Here's why I'm asking that question. I want you, along with me and everyone else who's watching this, to do that same thing, but instead of with another person, I'd like you to do it with God. And in your mind for a moment, when you think of God, what image or word comes to your mind? What comes up?
The image that comes is, I guess the image that I always have from when I was little, when I'm talking about God the Father and God, is this very, I don't want to say royal looking person, but he's got his arms open. That's the image that I see whenever I just close my eyes and think of God. It's just this, I would say probably about my age, full royal, like a royal term beard and just probably a crown, but just with open arms.
Sure, yeah.
Always with open arms.
So like a royal, you're picturing a man.
Yes.
Of some sort. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Kelsey?
It'd probably be pretty similar, just like I'd see like in a white robe because it's pure and it's loving, and I can never quite picture his face, because I know he's more than just human.
Mm.
So I picture him as human because we're made in his image and likeness, but never as a human, if that makes sense.
Sure. And so there's some traits there, like a garment, like a white garment. There's like things that you see, right? For myself, I visited Rome one time, and I was in the Sistine Chapel, and in the Sistine Chapel, there's that picture on the ceiling. It's really famous, of like God with his finger out, and then Adam's like touching the finger. And it's everywhere, but I think of pictures like that, things that I've seen before. All right, let's go into that a little bit more, though. Okay, I really want to see if we can challenge our images a little bit. Here's how I want to do that. I'm going to go over some examples with you. Okay, so here's the first example. Henry and Kelsey, if you were to start walking from your home, or from here to your home right now, how long do you think it would take to walk there?
Half an hour.
Yeah.
Half an hour?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have some daughters that live in Omaha, is
Yes.
that correct? What if you wanted to go walk and see them? How long do you think it might take to walk to Omaha?
Week.
So, yeah, that's pretty far. You're
Yep.
still in our state, though. I
Yeah.
mean, if we wanted to walk someplace besides that, I mean, it would take... This is a huge world that we live in.
Yes.
Think of the oceans, think of the mountains, think of just how vast this world is. All right. Well, I have a little example for us. This is a golf ball. And this is I got this example from a man named Louis Giglio. You can look up his video online, and it's called "How Great Is Our God?" But he gives these examples from like contemporary science. It's really fascinating. So here's the example. Imagine this is the world. So at some point in this is your house, is where you live. There's New York. There's the oceans. There's just a vast world. Okay, all right. So this was the world. How many of these do you think would fit in the sun?
I used to know this.
Did you used to know?
Oh my gosh. It's like billions upon billions of them.
No, it's not quite.
No, yes it is.
Okay, if you say so, I'll go with you.
Your Family Feud.
Your science is fresher than mine.
It's 960,000.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking the galaxy, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
So we got another one here. So imagine that's two of our worlds together, and we put another one in there. And now imagine we have 960,000 of those. That's the size of our sun. Can you wrap your mind around that?
It's huge.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. So our sun is a star, right? In the midst of our galaxy. Do you know how many stars are in our galaxy?
No.
Come on, you're the science expert.
I had the last one wrong, so I'm not going to do it again.
100 billion.
Yeah, I was going to say it's billions.
I haven't counted all of them, but
Yeah.
this is what they say, right? 100 billion. So our little Earth golf ball.
Just a speck in
Pretty
that whole
tiny.
thing.
So I read a little article that said if you took every grain of sand on our Earth and you put them all together, right, they would equal about the number of stars in our galaxy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, huh? Makes you feel pretty small. So I invite you sometime to go to the HubbleSite.com. You can look at the Hubble telescope. Has taken pictures all over different galaxies of different parts of the universe. They took a picture last year. It was the biggest picture ever taken. Made up of 7,000 individual captured pictures to make one big picture. And it's full of stars, and I show it sometimes to like my marriage prep couples, and I ask them, hey, can you count those stars? And they start going 1, 2. It's like, oh, sorry. Those are all galaxies. Because in this picture, there are 260,000 galaxies. And each galaxy having
Lots of stars.
billions of stars. We're in one of those galaxies on in our state, in our town. Pretty tiny, huh? But back to stars, though. Our sun's a star, right?
Yep.
But our sun's actually a pretty small star, apparently. don't know much about this, but so there's the biggest star that they've ever found. I think they named it after you. It's called the Big Dog.
Figured that's where you were going.
It's called the Big Dog. Okay, so the Big Dog is the biggest star that we know of, and it's not a million sizes of like little Earths put together. Like our sun is like a million. It's not a billion. It's not a trillion. It's 7 quadrillion.
Wow.
Earths the size. Does that even fathom? Is it something you even...
You get to the point where it's so big that you have a hard time even picturing it.
So here's a little example. Kelsey, if you were to start counting right now, like
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go ahead.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, if we came back
Okay.
in a million seconds, we left and came back, how long do you think that would be?
A million seconds.
It would be a million seconds.
How many minutes do you think it would be?
Oh gosh.
Or how much time? It's actually not
A
that
lot.
long.
It's like... Never mind, I don't know.
It's 11 and a half days.
I was going to say it was about 12 days.
Yeah.
11 and a half days. What if you counted to a billion? 1, 2,
3,
3,
4.
and then we came
5.
back.
Okay.
Any idea?
A long time.
It would be 31 years.
I was going to say.
Okay.
If you counted to a trillion and we came back, it'd be 31,000 years. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3. If you counted to 1 quadrillion and we came back, do you want to do the math?
Yeah, no.
It would be 31 million years from now.
Yep.
Okay, there's 7 quadrillion Earths in Big Dog.
There you go.
You're a sun. At this point, it really doesn't make sense to keep talking about big things because it's just mind blowing.
It's huge.
Just mind blowing.
And that's still just a tiny part of the entire, space when you think about it.
Universe.
Yeah.
That word.
No, even bigger than that.
Okay.
So back to God created. Those are the 2 words, the only 2 words I was going to focus on today. God created. And just a few moments ago I asked you, what do you think of when, what sort of mental picture comes to your mind or word comes to your mind when you think of God? Now that we've gone over these examples, and this God is the God who made all of that effortlessly, what comes to your mind now when you think of God?
He's a little bigger and stronger.
Just a little bit? He's the big dog.
He's the big dog. Probably, I don't know. It's hard to put it into words, but that there's a warmth and a glow about him that you have a hard time looking at him. It's just because of that massive ability and power, and that he's created all this like that. That there's that that respect type of I don't know if that's the right word or not, but that in awe that comes along with the image that was there, because it just enhances it so much.
Kelsey?
I'd say probably something similar where he'd be way more powerful than I expected, and to be able to do that you have to have a whole lot of love for something or someone, and that kind of powerful love is what would put me in awe of him, and him being able to do that is just amazing.
Yeah, it makes me think doesn't make me think of a weak God.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think that this is something way beyond my experience. I might have little experiences of being in awe. But I lift up my head like this and look at some of the examples. I'm like, whoa.
Yes.
Does it make you think, knowing that we're that small, though, in the vast universe, does it make you a little bit nervous?
I don't think it does, because I've always trusted in his love for us. And if he cares, and because he cares about us as much as he does, makes us worthy, makes us important. So I guess I look at it as, instead of making me nervous, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of love.
Yeah. Talked to a couple people, though, about this, and they said they feel insignificant knowing it's that big, they're that small. It makes it a little anxiety-provoking, knowing that this is like, is it fragile because we're this small and we're in this huge universe? I don't know. What do you think?
I wouldn't say I would feel insecure. I'd feel amazing to know that even in this whole grander scheme of things, God still loves for each one of us individually for who we are. And because of that, we're not going to be insignificant. We're going to be
significant to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So the good thing is that God just isn't like big, far away. But this is what our catechism says, which I think is really beautiful. This is paragraph 52 of our Catechism of the Catholic Church. It says, God who dwells in unapproachable light. God who dwells in unapproachable light wants to communicate his own divine life to men he freely created in order to adopt them, to be a father to them, basically. That God that's massive, huge, powerful, grand, is saying, I want to be fatherly. I want to adopt you as my own. By revealing himself, God wishes to make them capable of responding to him, of knowing him and loving him far beyond their own natural capacity. And then paragraph 53 says, God communicates himself to man gradually. Could you imagine this God trying to just like bust in the door?
Door go flying all the way.
Yeah. It's just like, how easy would it be to be overwhelmed by a God of this size, of this grandeur? It says he communicates himself to man gradually. He prepares him by stages. The supernatural revelation, which is revealing of himself, is to culminate, to become full in the person and mission of Jesus Christ. We will get to that in the future. So, slowly over time, he's been coming and revealing in a fatherly way, showing up in the lives of people, showing that they're not insignificant in the midst of this huge universe, that you're meant to be here. I want you to be here. One of the first ways that he shows up, you want to go ahead and read it from Exodus 3?
Yeah. What part?
Exodus 3, verses 1 through 5, I believe.
1 through 5. Meanwhile, Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. Leading the flock across the desert, he came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a fire flaming out of a bush. As he looked on, he was surprised to see that the bush, though on fire, was not consumed. So Moses decided, I must go over to look at this remarkable sight and see why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw him coming over to look at it more closely, God called out to him from the bush, Moses, Moses, he answered, Here I am. God said, Come no nearer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground.
That's good, yeah. Kelsey, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. Could you go ahead and put your finger in there, please? Don't do it. You're not supposed to do it.
I'm a very impulsive person.
Don't do that. Let's say that you didn't do that. But let's say that you did do that, right?
Okay.
You left it in there. What would happen?
It'd burn.
yeah, your finger would get burned because there's a power to fire. It's destructive. So God, in showing up, one of the first times that he shows up and reveals himself as God of the universe, he comes near his people. He comes near Moses, right? Well, he shows up in fire. It's a destructive power. But the fire is not destructive. What do you make of that? Of what God's trying to communicate?
I think he was trying to make it so that Moses wasn't completely overwhelmed by his presence. When you think about it, there's more to it than that. That like you just said, the fire that doesn't consume, but yet has the warmth and the glow and all the power that comes with fire.
Yeah.
But I think he was probably, like you were talking about before, if he'd have showed up in any more grandeur than that, Moses might not have came nearer. Might have ran the other way.
Yeah. Makes me think of when you were like a little kid like this.
Okay.
Did Big Dog here ever like come down really low, like maybe take a knee to come down to your level, speak to you like on your own level so you understood? I'm sure that happened, right?
Sometimes.
You probably got some pictures of that, right? I'm sure you did that, right? You remember any of that?
That, and then a lot of times I'd pick them up, stand them on the counter, so they were.
That's more like that.
Oh, so you're you're bringing to the level, right? So this is what God does. So he's coming and meeting us at a level that we're able to understand, and he does this, reveals himself, right? In order, like this is the beginning of the story, right? Later on, we're going to see that he lifts us up to his own eye level sort of thing. But in the beginning, he's coming down. And so I'm just going to close with, how do we then stand before this God? How do we come before a God who's so big yet humbly like comes down to meet us?
Well, it really drives home that you can't hide anything from him. So you might as well come open armed because there's no hiding.
Yeah.
In prayer, I mean, just and I guess with him as big as he is, and with there nowhere to hide, you can bring him in at any moment, any time during the day. He's because he's there. So I guess that's the perspective that I look at it, is that for one, you can't hide, and two, he's always there. And so just being open to that, I guess that's just what makes me think of.
We're going to see more and more that that's a really good thing to do. And when people don't do that, it's really, really bad. That's some stories to come as we go further in this series. But any last things, Kelsey? Okay. Well, the last quote that I'm going to have today is from Psalm 33:8. Psalm 33:8. It says, "All the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him." All the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. So thanks for tuning in today. We have some resources to be clicked on with discussion questions that you can discuss with, personally, just to really take in this content more and more, to be overwhelmed by those two words, God created. And then also to share this with your loved ones, with friends, as conversational pieces. I'd like to thank Henry and his daughter Kelsey for coming on today. And God bless everyone.